All right, here we are. We're live. Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 2 of The Pioneer and what we're building. And this is all about SheIsMe Global and the land acquisitions that we're making. And I'm Lisa. I'm the founder of SheIsMe Global. And I'm here with Silke, who is our Executive Director of Europe and Media. Hi, Silke.
Hi there, Lisa. Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you and everybody else. So we're going to talk about what we're actually building, because there's a lot of talk about, our leadership centers and our global centers, but let's just get into it. Like, what are we actually building? So what is the single biggest misconception people have when they hear the word eco retreat?
Well, from many conversations I have had with people over the time, the word eco seems to trigger always an image of poor hippie types that walk around in home knitted sheepswool jumpers and sweaters, and they are digging in the dirt and live in some form of medieval hut or village without any amenities.
Yeah.
That seems to be a very common idea about what eco means. So people basically think that if you want to be sustainable or live in an eco-friendly way, you have to give up all modern comforts and amenities and live in a field. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because nowadays we've got all the technology that makes it absolutely feasible, and it's really a thing that you can live in renovated properties. You can have all the modern amenities because we have got solar and wind power and aqua power, and we can even harvest water from the sky from the nighttime temperature changes. We can get geothermal heat. So there's so much out there that we can live an absolutely normal modern life with all the amenities, and we don't have to give up anything and still have a zero carbon footprint.
Which is what we're striving for, honestly. We're not going to be able to do that at every single location right away, but that's really what we're striving for, right? We're really striving to not only take the land back, but renovate some of these beautiful buildings and beautiful villages and farms, but also to cut down on our footprint and our consumption, right? So really,
absolutely.
And part of that, we need what we creating and creating what we need out of the products that we farm, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we are going to implement as well. We are going to grow our own food, be it a farm or an urban center. There are always modern methods growing and harvesting your own food. In an urban property where the land is very restricted, it may be things like aquaponics and vertical gardening. On a farm that's in an area where there may be too much sun in the summer and very cold in the winter, we are going to try Walapini greenhouses, which are underground greenhouses. Mm-hmm. And we are going to experiment with all of these modern farming methods to make sure that every location a percentage of its own food.
Right. I was in Iceland a couple years ago and went to a tomato farm in Iceland, and you would think, how the heck are they growing tomatoes in Iceland? Well, they have buildings and they have vertical gardens and they have aquaponics. So everything is, the roots are in water, the tomatoes grow straight up, and they just have walls and walls of vertical tomato plants. They even have own beehives within the buildings so that the tomatoes are getting pollinated And they, I mean, it is, I don't even remember how many square feet. It's gigantic, a gigantic farm. And they grow all the tomatoes for Iceland in these buildings. So it doesn't matter. I mean, the human being is figuring out ways to do amazing things, no matter where we are and how, what conditions we live under. And I think that's something that we're teaching, and we're learning and then teaching at these centers, is how to have all of the things that we're used to, our conveniences and food and everything else that we're used to, but doing it in a different way than what we're conditioned to. Because I mean, people have been doing it for thousands of years, or hundreds of thousands of years, right? But and no supermarkets. So there are ways for us to do this, and get back into the land, and get back to this lifestyle that isn't attacking nervous systems 24 hours a day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how many functions does a SheIsMe center carry? So can you talk about those sort of in plain language, like what it is we do at our centers?
Okay, so at the heart of every center is the cooperative community, which is the permanent living space for women. So we have actually got living spaces where women come and live permanently, or 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or for good. Women may decide to set up their permanent home there. And these women who form the permanent core help us run retreats. So each center is also a retreat center where women come for restoration, for rest, and where we train our next generations of stewards. We also run farm-to-table sustainable farming operations, and any surplus will get sold to the local community or donated to the local community, depending on the social circumstances, because a big part of all of this is as well to be of benefit to the communities that are hosting us. And we also provide a space for artists, for craftspeople, artisan tradesmen, and all the trades that you can think of, modern and traditional. If somebody is a digital nomad who's into coding, they're welcome there. Or if somebody is a potter or a baker or anything that's a traditional craft, it's also very welcome. So we're basically creating cultural centers.
Right. And we have many opportunities around the centers, as like we said, farm to table, sustainable farming operations. This includes livestock, raising livestock and producing products, bees, sheep's milk. So it could be anything from candles, beeswax candles, to sheep's milk soap, to there's so many things that if you don't know, you can learn, but you also get the experience of living in this community and working in this way. But also, oftentimes the centers or even the villages need renovation and they need work. So you can come and live and work there too on if you're a carpenter or an electrician or any of those things, you're welcome as well, because the work needs to get done. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about cooperative community. So and who knows, there may be space for you in the village or in the community that we are part of, outside of our structure, right? And I'm talking about the community as a whole. So there could very well be opportunities there, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the residential element. Like who lives there, what terms, for how long, um, how can I come and stay, or how can I come and go? Yeah, all of those details. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So we offer permanent residencies for women and women who want to live in a community for whatever personal reasons, whether they're single and seeking connection, whether they're divorced, bereaved, or the kids have flown the nest. Whatever the personal reason, everyone is welcome. We are implementing a cooperative housing model where women buy a share in a housing cooperative, which gives them the right to permanent residency. Now, the reason we have chosen that model is because it's the most common and the most supported legal system here in Europe for cooperative housing. And it provides a lot of security to anybody buying in because it is a legally registered company, an entity, where all the shares and the share money is protected by escrow accounts and lawyers who look after it. So we want this to be secure for women. We want women to feel safe in the knowledge that the money they've invested is safe and that it's all being used for the right purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that this all works is that the women who buy the share in the cooperative are then shareholders in the company, and the actual company owns or leases the building, which then means we have board meetings where everyone is entitled to one vote. It's a democratic voting system. And when there are things like property repair, the roof needs fixing, the heating needs fixing, or if we decide within a village to acquire another property to expand, everyone comes together, there's a democratic vote on things, and we move forward and use the money in the escrow account for what was decided by the democratic vote.
Right.
So that is the best way of safeguarding everyone's interests. And you can live in the cooperative for as long as you want. It is permanent residence. And of course, you can leave whenever you want.
Now, there's also, let's just be transparent about this. There's also a monthly maintenance fee, right, to look after the property, which is totally normal. And you can pursue your own work if you find a job in town or something like that, but you are required a certain number of hours of communal work, right? So to be part of the community, you have to contribute to the community. So that is something that is non-negotiable. Everybody needs to contribute. And then if there is any communal income generated, so for instance, we, have bees and we sell the honey and we make candles and we, sell things and we make money from that, then that is what we would consider communal income generated, right? And then we would everyone would receive a share of that income because everybody worked on it, everybody contributed. So I think that's awesome. I mean, and it might not be much, but at least you get something for your work, and you're creating something and you're supplying something to the community, which I think is beautiful. And and some of the places that we're looking at, the community has dwindled, right? The community has, especially like in Spain, what we're talking about, people are leaving, young people are leaving some of these villages. People are dying out and young ones are leaving because there's not, it's not exciting and fun and everything else, but they're still beautiful communities, and they are really looking forward to having more people join them and become a village again or become a community again. And so we're really looking for places that do want us there, not necessarily, don't come to our village and so we're gonna have to fight them off. It's not like that. We're really doing the work to make sure that it's a safe space for us. I mean, because that's what we're all about, right? And safe spaces.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the retreat function and how it generates cash flow that keeps everything else alive.
Mm-hmm. The all SheIsMe communities will host SheIsMe retreats, and the land steward always gets involved in that because the land steward is the person who has to organize all the logistics, and the women who are actually actively involved in those retreats all receive a profit share of the retreat. So that way, every retreat again creates money.
Mm-hmm.
It creates money for SheIsMe, so we can keep the organization going. But there's also a profit share with all the people who get involved in running it. So everybody benefits, because that's the whole idea of these communities, that when we come together in community and we work together in community, we also get paid in community. So everybody benefits.
Right.
So there's also the other option that permanent residents are very welcome to organize and run their own retreats and use the premises in the calendar. Everything gets organized within the calendar, so bookings don't double book, etc.
Right.
SheIsMe Vision, they are very welcome to use the premises and again earn an income doing that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited about that because what started out as finding and building retreat centers very quickly became more. And we had sort of, I think when we started this, we'd sort of thought about, well, let's have these retreat centers, but let's also acquire land and let's also do this, so we brought it all together basically, which is fantastic. And the idea of having our own retreat network or centers in our network is thrilling, right? So we train retreat facilitators and they don't have to spend time out there trying to locate trying to book a location and trying to find out if, because it's really, really hard. Retreat centers are pretty booked, as it stands every year. And it is really hard to find a place, book it, and, and then plan around it, because you either have to, it's either super far out or super, the time is super close. So you don't have a lot of time. But as a retreat facilitator, what we do is we help you with all of those things. But by having our retreat centers network, you don't have that problem because you can always find a center within the network to accommodate you, which is fantastic. And then if you are, either someone who has the co-op in the center, or is someone who, has one of the weekly, yearly stays that we talk about, and we'll talk about that too. You can use the retreat center network, right? And book your retreats through that. So that's really great. So let's talk about that a little bit, because we have two options, right? We have two options for our centers. We have the co-op option where you're actually buying in and you can live there and you can, stay there and run retreats and everything. And then we have the, what do we call it?
Um, the legacy weeks.
The
We have
legacy
legacy
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah. So we have the legacy weeks where you can purchase a week or 2 or 6 or 12 or however many you want, and use them at our retreat center or within the retreat center network.
Yeah. And the way that works is basically that you buy, like Lisa just said, you buy 1 week, or you can buy packages. You basically become a member of the retreat center network. So you can buy 1 week, you can buy 1 week for a period of 5 years. You can have a lifetime membership where you can come every year for a week. You can buy more than 1 week, and you can use those weeks either for yourself, just for retreating, or you can actually use the space that gives you, like, one week buys you basically one private suite, which may have 2 beds. In some places, sometimes 4 beds. It entirely depends on how big the premises are, what the situation is. And
Mm-hmm.
you have free use of those beds. So you can theoretically get people there for retreats. If you want to hold your own retreats, you have guest beds available. Or you can give those weeks to somebody you want to have a nice holiday. And within that 1 week, you actually get the use of the full facilities, of all the retreat facilities. Food is seen to, everything is done for you. You literally arrive with your suitcase and your yoga mat, if that's what you want to do, and have a good week, or
Right.
create a good week for others.
Right. And you can take advantage of events that might be going on, or learn things that are being taught at the center. Meet the women who are there, and become part of that community, even if it's for a week. That you're welcomed in, and you're able to do any of the things that are going on there, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that it's open. So let's talk about the farm then. What does farm mean in SheIsMe context, and what are we actually growing, and why?
Yep. So farm in our SheIsMe context means, like what I already touched on, any form of growing our own food. It could be a large farm, like if we acquire property in Sweden, it usually comes with 10 to 20 hectares of land. So you have logging rights, you have hunting rights, you have fishing rights. So this would be a full-grown major agricultural operation. Or it could literally be a urban city center farm where we have acquired property somewhere in the city, and all it has is a couple of balconies in a very small rear yard, where we then start experimenting with vertical gardening and aquaponics. So every farm will be suited to the location and the situation of the actual property, but the aim is always to generate the absolute maximum amount of food ourselves, so we can eat the food that we've grown ourselves. And the idea is that we learn to become independent from the food chain and pass that knowledge on. We want to make sure that as many women as possible in this world know how to grow their own food, and even if it is only on a balcony in a city apartment, because the way the world is going, we have insecure food supply chains. Our food is being poisoned, and it is absolutely necessary that we start learning how to feed ourselves to get away from all that toxicity.
Correct.
And apart from that, if we are successful and we actually grow a surplus, that's another income generating activity. Yeah, it makes us a bit of money. And we also can use the food for helping the local community, because if a community is awesome and they support us and they welcome us into their midst, then it's only fair that we give back. So we can distribute surplus food to the elderly or to the poor and make sure that basically everyone in the overall community benefits, because we don't want to just stay an isolated little bubble of women who just run our retreats. We really want to integrate into society and make sure that the villages that we go to actually benefit from us being there.
Right, right. But with keeping in mind that we are creating safe spaces, and so there is no requirement for women who come there to actually interact with anyone outside of the center. Just if that is your choice, you can stay there and stay safe and not do that. I want to make sure that everyone knows that, but we do have a plan to contribute to the community outside of the center in some way. Again, whether it's food or anything that we can contribute to help. But if you're coming there for safety and to stay safe, you do not need to interact. So, right, and that brings us to sanctuary, right? Because that's what we really talk about, is having the sanctuary. So what does this mean in practical terms, right? And who is it for, and how does it work alongside everyone else?
Well, sanctuary in essence is the creation of a safe space. And like you just said, some women may feel unsafe being in society because of things that has happened to them, because we do work a lot with women who've gone through serious trauma.
Right.
So to honor that, we will structure our communities in such a way that there is a safe space, like a core community, which will be very strictly for the women only who are there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you just said, it is absolutely voluntary to go out and interact with the community. Because some women may just want to live in a community of women, but they are not adverse to going out to the local pub. It's absolutely everyone's own choice. And the other thing with that as well is we recognize that sometimes if women live permanently at our place, things in life happen. They come there because they want to get away from everything, and then a couple of years later they do find a partner, or something romantic happens. And of course we don't want to restrict anyone in their personal lives, so these women then have the choice to go and leave the actual women's community but live nearby and still interact, still be part of the community, but live just outside of it because they have families.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to run into an integrated model, but there is going to be a core space that will be an absolute no-go for any males, because we do recognize that we must provide a safe space for traumatized women, because the whole idea is that women come to us to heal.
Right. And SheIsMe is all about safe spaces, whether it's online or in reality, or even in our city centers, like that. We're creating these safe spaces everywhere, and that is our charge, right? That is really what we're focused on. So we want to make sure that we stay true to that. And we talked about this already, like the community hub function, right? And in the surrounding area, how does it serve? Like how we actively participate in the villages or the communities. And we talked about sharing food and skills, and maybe even companionship, for elderly people in the community. But really revitalizing the communities, right? And how do we then provide work for locals? How do we do that?
So basically, like I said, we have the option to go out in the community. So women who live in our co-op model are very welcome to actually go outside and have real jobs to earn money if that's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when we do need help, because we will need help, we will need uh, builders, contractors, farm hands, cleaners. We will need a lot of manpower to run some of these things, especially when we come to house renovations. We will focus on using as many local people as possible, because the whole idea is, especially by going to Spain, to the depopulated regions, to create an economy within the local village.
Right. That's so important because at some point it was a thriving village, right? It was, they did have everything they needed, sort of self-contained. But now with the depopulation happening, um, they're dependent more and more on things outside and cannot always count on them on timing, supply chain, and all the other stuff. So we really want to revitalize some of these communities. So when do we think the first community will open its doors then?
So my aim is to open the first co-op in Spain in early fall this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already right now in the first preliminary talks. I am pinpointing a handful of villages that are great possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I am starting to make initial contact with the authorities in Spain and the mayors, etc. I am organizing my trip from Bulgaria, where I live right now, to Spain to relocate, because what's going to happen is that I'm going first to one of those villages. And then once I've actually got feet on the ground, I'm going to organize everything there. Because the way Spain works is nothing works on the internet. You really have to be there. There are still face-to-face people, especially in those villages. So I'm going there. I'm setting it all up this summer. And I am aiming for a launch in early fall.
Yeah. Yep. So we will launch this in fall. And we also have kind of a unique plan with this, right? We're talking to journalists and to filmmakers and try and maybe get this documented so that we can show everybody what we're doing and, just sort of bring some realness to this, and get it in front of more eyes. But it's always been a real balance with what we do, right? We want to create these safe spaces, and we want to really lift women up, but we also don't want to become a target, because that's kind of what happens when women kind of want to do something outside of the system, is they are stopped, or they are, those landmines start showing up, and those obstacles start showing up, and those no's start showing up. So we're really, we've really been working at length to make sure that we're inclusive, and that we're also, like we talked about, giving back to the communities. Because if we were just to march in there and say, we're buying this village and we're taking over, it would be a real, we probably wouldn't be able to do it, right? So I think it's really interesting, this approach, so that we can document what we're doing and get some eyes on this, and really make this something that's adopted in many different places, with us at the helm, sort of, orchestrating it, but that getting more and more women involved in this,
Mhm.
because it is it is being talked about so much. Like, I just want to sell everything and move to Spain, or I just want to sell everything and move to live with my friends and do this and do that. But it really does take a village. It really does take, and this is something we'll be talking about at length going forward, but it really does take people to understand what community is. And if you're not living in community right now, if you're not part of a community right now, it's pretty eye-opening to see really what it takes to contribute and to be part of, and not just, sit on your phone or on your computer all day and post and talk to people that way. It really does take showing up, contributing, and being part of, in person. So, with our farm immersives, we'll probably, have some of these community immersive programs where you can come and, try it out for a week and see if it's something that you would like to do going forward, before you invest.
Yep, absolutely. So I want to mention that as well. In every one of our communities that we set up, in every co-op, we do offer a 2-week period where you can come and just check us out, because we don't expect you to spend your money and invest in something if you really don't like it. We really want to make sure that every person who comes to live with us is really happy there. And also for us to make sure that they're a good fit, because that again is part of us ensuring that everyone is 100% safe.
Correct. Yep. So there is an application, and there are interviews that happen, and checks and so on, just because it has to be a safe space for the women coming there and living there, and creating it, right? It has to be a safe space. So yeah, is there anything else we need to talk about?
Well, right at this moment, I would like to actually raise an appeal, because we're looking for sponsors
Oh, right.
for the original trip, my trip from Bulgaria to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking to raise either 10,000 euros to buy a large van, and I'm aiming actually for a small minibus, because that way it's big enough for myself, my 4 dogs, and my belongings to go to Spain. And then later on, a minibus is the perfect vehicle that we will need for the community, because the villages we're looking at are at least, at the minimum, a 20 to 30-minute drive from the next urban center where the shops are. So our community will need like a small minibus. So therefore, our priority right now is to obtain a small minibus, an 8-seater, and to secure the actual money for me to drive to Spain, which in the current climate I have calculated will come to about 2,000 euros just in fuel and the road tolls, because we're talking serious money for gasoline right now here in Europe.
Right. I always forget about the tolls as well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's our call. You can, again, if you have any questions or comments, or want to help or want to join us, you can comment in the comments below the video, and one of us will reach out to you, or both of us will reach out to you, and we can meet with you and tell you more details about everything that's happening. But yeah, we're really excited about this. We're excited about the expansion of SheIsMe. We're excited about being able to help women come together and take the land back and create and live in peace and safety, which is our #1 priority at SheIsMe. So thank you, Silke, and we'll see you next week. We're going to be here every Friday at 11:30 live, talking about what we're doing, how we're doing it. And so join us if you have any questions. Again, put in the comments, or if you join us live in the future, you can just comment while we're talking and we'll actually see it and we can answer your questions live. So yeah. All right. Thanks, Silke.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.